In this presentation, we're going to take a look at the month-end financial statements, and this time, since we have 2 months to compare, we're going to be creating comparative financial statements, comparing the 2 months that we have, a comparative balance sheet, a comparative income statement. We'll also take a look at the transactions by date, the great report for checking our numbers, reviewing numbers for an employee, and possibly even for billing purposes to see how many transactions has been made so you can possibly bill by transaction. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Online. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We're now going to be taking a look at the reports. So these are the types of reports we want to practice putting together and possibly give to someone, whether that be a supervisor or a client. And then we also want to basically check our work. So those are going to be kind of our two objectives. So we'll pull the reports, think about how we can check the work, both with regards to a practice problem and in practice, and then think about how we can put these reports together in order to provide them to somebody. So we're going to go down to the reports down below. Let's start off with our balance sheet report. So I'm going to go down to the balance sheet, our favorite type of report here. We'll open that up. And I'm going to scroll up top, and we're going to be changing the dates up top from 01, let's make it 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Then run that report. Now, this would be the balance sheet that we might want to provide. We probably would at the end of each month provide the balance sheet. And then on top of that, or the new thing, and the thing we'll focus on here, is we might want to provide the comparative numbers for the time period. So now we'll make that comparative balance sheet that we saw in the beginning sections of our analysis here, or our reports as we were reviewing the information. So I'm going to hold down Control, scroll up a bit, and there's a couple ways we can do a comparative balance sheet, you'll recall. One, let's change the end date to 02/29/20, because there's 29 days in 2020 for February, apparently. And so there we have that. And then we could change like the total here from totals to months. And then it would give us and then run that report. And then it would give us the month end numbers, January and then February. Remember, the balance sheet is as of the end of the month. So this is as of the end of January, as of the end of February, unlike the profit and loss report, which is beginning to end kind of performance report. The other way we could do it is I'm going to change this back. I'm going to go, that's cool, but I don't want to do it that way. And I'm going to change this one to the second month, which is going to be 02/01/20, and then run that report. So now we have just for February, and now I'd like to tell QuickBooks pick up the prior month from that. So to do that, I'm going to select this item. I'm going to say, hey, QuickBooks, please pick up the previous period, and then I'm going to run that report. And there it did it. So now we have the two periods. The first period on the left now, and then the prior period on the right. We got this PP up top. I don't know why they have to do that. I don't really like that. But when we export it to Excel, we can get rid of that kind of formatting weirdness. And then we also can make a difference column, you'll recall, by selecting this drop down and saying, what if I want the change? And then we can take a look at the change. And so we can see how we did, kind of where we stand at the end of one period versus the other. We got that difference number, and then we can then go to the change in percentages, run that report. And that would be, so now you got a kind of pretty interesting report here. This looks pretty impressive. You can give this to somebody. So what you probably want to do when presenting and giving to somebody, possibly make the balance sheet, the summarized balance sheet first, which doesn't have all your subtotals, then the standard balance sheet, and then if they have more questions or you want to give more detail or impress somebody, then you give something like this, which will have, the more information on it. So that's what I won't do that, but that's how you'd probably want to give the information. You don't want to overwhelm people, but you do want to impress them with all the reports possibly. So you probably want to start off or put the easy report, the simple report, the condensed balance sheet up top, then the standard balance sheet, then something like this, which will have the changes and whatnot. And that's how you'd want to present the numbers too. Don't just give them the full numbers, all numbers. It'll make their eyes roll over and they won't listen to a word you say. All right, so in any case, let's go ahead and do some more adjustments up top, some of our standard kind of adjustments. We'll do the customization up top. And let's go ahead and remove the brackets here, make those red. And then I'm going to scroll down to the footer, and we're going to be removing the date, time, and report basis. We'll remove those items. And I'd like to get rid of the pennies as well. Let's get rid of the pennies. All right. So there we have it. That looks pretty good. Okay, so then what you want to do is review these numbers, check your numbers to obviously the 2020 total column. And if those tie out, great. If they do not tie out, then you can, that's okay. You can drill down on anything that doesn't, and then we'll go to the transaction detail report, which is really where you can kind of get a better analysis of that. Let's go ahead and print this out. So I'm going to print it a couple different ways. We're imagining we're going to give this to somebody. So I'm going to print it as a PDF, and then we'll do the Excel thing and put it all on one Excel sheet as well. So I'm going to print it as a PDF first. I'm going to say print, and we're going to use the Qt PDF printer. So I'm going to say print that one. It's going to ask us where we want to put it at some point. That's what I'm expecting to happen. There it goes. And then I don't want to put it right there. I want to put it like in the month 8. So I'm going to put it in month 8, 8 month 2. And I'm going to call this a comparative balance sheet. Comparative balance sheet. There we go. Going to save that one. Close it up. I'm also going to export it to Excel by selecting the drop down here. As we've seen in the past, go to the export. It's going to be populating down here, so that's what I want. I'm going to open that one up. And there it is. I'm not getting any weird yellow. I used to get these weird yellow things saying there's something wrong with my subscription for a while, but I think I fixed it now. So those things aren't happening here, which is nice. So in any case, we're going to see if it's on 1 or 2 pages. I'm going to go to the second page here. It's on 2 pages. That's not good. I'm going to go back to the first page. And I think I could just make this one a little bit smaller, maybe. And that should take care of it. Maybe make these a bit larger so you can see the numbers. That would be nice. All right. That looks pretty good. I don't know why this column's so wide. Doesn't seem like it needs to be so wide. In any case, I'm going to save this now. So we're going to save it. So I'm going to go to the File tab up top. We're going to go Save As, Browse. And then it's going to see where we want to put this thing. I'm going to put it into the course data here. And then I'm going to put it into 8 month 2. 8 month 2. That seems weird. And then I'm going to say, just call it the financial statements. I think I could just overwrite this whole thing because it has the type down here. So I'm just going to call it financial statements. All right. And then I'm going to save that. Then I'm just going to minimize this because I'm going to keep on putting the other reports onto it. Back to QuickBooks, I'm going to right click up top and duplicate this cell. Then I'm going to go back to the one to the left, and let's do the same thing for the P and L. I'm going to open up that old hamburger, and I'm going to scroll down to the reports on the left. We're going to be opening up the P and L, the profit and loss, the income statement. So there it is. We'll change the dates up top once again. So you could, the dates we've been working with is 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. We can go ahead and run that report. And you can kind of check your numbers to that report here. So you can say, all right, does that match out? And if it doesn't, then you can kind of zoom in on them and check that. And then we can also take a look at the transaction detail, which we will do shortly. Now we can also run this. Just remember, this one you can run for the month of February too. So in this report, the profit and loss, you might give them the full 2-month time period. You might say, now here's the month of February, which is 02/01/20 to 02/29/20. Here's the month of February, so you can see the performance there. That's the last month we were on. So you can see how we did there, much better. We have income. That's good. And so we could do that, and we could do a comparison. So let's do the comparison report again, which we can do a couple different ways. First way, 01/01/20 to 02/29/20, the full period. Now note, if you do that here, you're talking about 2 months worth of accumulation, as opposed to the balance sheet. If you were to do that, you would only get to, it'd be the same numbers because it's only as of the end of the time period. So this one's going to have double. And then if I went up top and I said, well, now I'd like to say from total to months here, and then run that report, it's going to give us the months. Now this is nice because it gives you January, February, and then the total of the 2 months, which is nice because then you can give them this report and say, hey, this is how we did in January, this is how we did in February, here's the total of how we did overall so far at this point in time. January, a bit of a loss. February, picked it up, and now we're at the 7,077 total. So that's a nice report. We also might want the difference. What's the change from one to the other? And that's the one we're going to generate here. So to do that up top, and remember, in the balance sheet, you don't have this total column because it doesn't make any sense on the balance sheet because it would be as of the end of January and the end of February. You don't add them up. But here it makes sense because it's a performance report over a time. All right, now let's see it the other way. We're going to go back up top and say, let's just look at February again, 020120, and then we'll run that report. And I'm going to get rid of the months here, go back to the totals, run it again. Now we just have the February numbers. Now I'm going to pick up the prior period. So I'm going to select the previous period, please. Run that report if you would. It doesn't want to do it. It would not. And then now we have the 2 months. Now February, the latest month first. And then I'm going to see, well, what if we want the difference, the change? We'll pick up the change, the difference, run that report. So there we have that. Now we have the difference, like how we did in 1 month versus the second month. And then again, we can go back up and get the percentage change and pick up those numbers. So again, what you can imagine now, you can give a lot of month-end reports. You probably want to give the profit and loss report for the month, possibly for the month to date. So for February, the month to date for February, you can have a report that would have broken out by months and combine them together as we saw. And then a report like this, which would probably be your last report, the most detailed one, which would have the 2 month time period and then the change between them, as well as the percentage changes. And again, if you were to present these, you want to level up in terms of how much detail, how much confusion you get in them, whether you do that, whether you're presenting them or in person or giving them to somebody. Okay, let's format these. Our standard formatting, we're going to go to the customize up top. We're going to be removing the pennies. We're going to be making the negative numbers bracketed. I'm going to make them red as well. Going to go down to the header and footer now, and I'm going to remove the date prepared, time prepared, report basis. Then I think that's it. We could change the name as well to an income statement if you so choose. That might be a way to customize it. We've done that in the past. I won't do it here. I'm going to say, and we should be changing, I should also change the name here. It should be it should be a comparative profit and loss. Comparative. And I should have done that for the balance sheet as well. And also note that we just have February here, so we should basically change that as well. I'd like to put the date, so we could do that when we export it to Excel, put the proper date, the 2 month time period down here, or just simply remove it from this report. But that's all I'll do for now since I want to get to the transaction detail report. So let's go ahead and print these out in a couple different ways. One, with the printer, we're going to say print. We're then going to go to the printer up top. That looks good. Go into the Qt PDF printer. It's going to ask us where do we want to put it at some point. There it goes. And then I'm just going to call this a comparative income statement. There. Then we'll export it to Excel. So I'm going to close this back out. Let's export it to Excel now. So there we do that. Opens up down below. So I'm going to open that one up. There it is. And if I look at, let's see if it fits on a page by going to the second page. It does. Now I'm not going to do any formatting here because I'm going to copy it over to our other worksheet. So I'm going to select the whole worksheet by selecting the triangle. Then I'm going to right click on it and copy it. Then I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to go to our other report. I'm going to hit the plus button down below and then I'm going to double click on the name and call this a P and L. Let's just call it that. Then I'm going to be in A1 and I'm just going to paste this here, right click and paste it. The first one, not 1, 2, 3, not the values only. There it is. Now you can do the formatting things if you want to. So like I don't need this total column here and I don't need this PP there. I don't like that. And then the change, that looks good. This February date isn't exactly right because it should be, January and February comparative. We should do that on the balance sheet too. We can do that. This is as of, this is February or January and February. I don't know how to spell February. I don't like that word. Let's check it out on the spell check here. All right, I did it right way. So then I'm going to go back to the P&L, and so that looks pretty good. So I'm going to save this, and now let's go back to our QuickBooks. So let's duplicate this tab. I'm going to go up top and right-click and duplicate that tab. And then let's go into our transaction detail reports. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go open up the hamburger. I'm going to scroll down a little bit back to 100. We're going to go down to our reports down below. So let's go to our reports down below. And then I'm going to go all the way down to the accounting reports. They put those at the bottom. It's like the accounting reports aren't important. Those are just for the accountant, apparently. That's how they think of it. So in any case, for my accountant, we have the transaction detail by date. We want the transaction detail by date. Going to open that one up. And then we're going to close the hamburger again. I'm going to hold down Control and scroll up a bit back to the 125. Scrolling back up top and changing the dates. I'm going to make it from 0201 20 to 022920. All right. And then we're going to run that report. So this is our detail report. Now, if your balance sheet or income statement didn't tie out, then this is the report. Then you want to check it too. I'll also give you the trial balance just in the practice folder, so you can check those numbers in terms of just the trial balance, the easiest report to kind of look through. So remember, this one's got the date. It's got the transaction types like the journal entry, the deposits, and so on and so forth. Got the number, the posting, the name, vendor, customer, employee, other, memos if we put some in. Notice I didn't put many in. That's bad. You should have memos probably, but you know, it's kind of, I didn't put them in there. So anyways, we got the account and then the split account, the two accounts that are going to be affected. If there's more than two, then you'll typically see the split here. Very nice report to be able to you know, kind of see the financial transaction, the debits and credits, the two accounts that are going to be affected as you learn this information if you're picking it up. Also a very good report to see the transactions that have happened. You might want to bill by transaction. Say, hey, this is how much I bill for this range of transactions or something like that. You fall into this range of transactions. Therefore, this is how much I bill for that. So then you're going to want to check over here, check your numbers to the right and compare those out. So I'll scroll down here a little bit more slowly. Now, if anything is on this report, if anything's on your report and isn't on this report, then you may have a duplicate number. You want to check that out. If anything's on this report, it's not on your report. It's possibly a date problem. Maybe you entered something in the wrong date. So it's a little bit more difficult then. If that's the case, what you want to do is change the date. It's a little bit more difficult to go back in time because we have data for the prior periods. But if the date problem was something in the future, like let's say I just make this 2021 and run the report. Let's make it, well, there's no 29. 12/31/20, let's say, and then run the report. Then you can scroll back down because there's no 29 days. And anyway, if I scroll back down, then you can see anything down here that's going to be past that date period. And it's a date problem. Then you can go in there if that's the problem and fix the date. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up top, change the date back. Actually, I don't really need to, but I'll change it back anyway. 02/29/20. Then we can run this report. We might want to customize it a bit, so I'll do the customization. I didn't do it last month, but I'll do it this month. We'll customize it. We'll remove the pennies. We'll make the negative numbers bracketed and red, and header and footer column. I'll remove the date and time prepared and run it. All right. Now let's print this thing. I'm going to go back up top, then we're going to go to the printer. I'm going to print this to the Qt PDF printer. I'm going to go ahead and say print. It's going to then ask the Qt PDF printer. That's where I want it to go. Let's go ahead and print that thing. It's going to ask us where we want it to put it. And so I'm going to say I want to put it in the here transaction detail report. And save that. Close this up. Let's export it to Excel now. I'm going to select the drop down and export it to Excel. which should open up down below. Let's open that up. So there it is. I know I'm going to have to do some formatting here, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to copy it over first. So I'm going to select the whole report, triangle, Control C, copying the whole thing, minimizing that, go into our other report where we had the balance sheet and P&L, making a new tab with a little plus button on the bottom, double clicking on the tab down there. And this is going to be the transaction detail. And then I'm going to go up top into A1 and paste it, Control V. And there we have it. So there's our report. Now I'm going to go to the second tab, page layout, to see if it fits on a page, and it totally doesn't. So I'm going to go to the first page and say, all right, I got to do something here. So I'm going to go up top and go to the page layout. And we're going to go to the size, and I'm going to go to the orientation and make it landscape. That's the first thing to do. Then I'm going to try to fix this titles and get rid of this column A because I don't need it. Now, you could just kind of minimize column A until it goes away, but I'm going to do this just because I think it's worthwhile to work with these merged cells. So I'm going to go up top and I'm going to unmerge the cell, Home tab, Alignment, Merge, do it here, Home tab, Alignment Group, Merge. One more time, Home tab, Alignment Group, Merge. And then I'm going to highlight these three. I'm going to grab the cell by putting my cursor on it and just move it over to column B. Then I'm going to select all of column A and right click on that selected area and delete that. So got rid of that. And then I don't think I need the posting column, so I'm going to right click on that and delete it. And so that looks pretty good. So we're getting close. This one looks like it's wider than I need it to be. Now the memo column I don't have many. Maybe those memos are important though. So maybe I just hide this one. Maybe I highlight it and then say I'm just going to hide it and see if that does it. And so that pulls it over. Then I'm going to highlight these cells to try to center this again, but I'm not going to use the merge because I don't like it. I'm going to right click on it the other way and do it this way because it's way better. And then I'm going to go up top and say we're going to go to the alignment. It's going to be horizontal aligned, center across the selection. And then you don't have to deal with the merge cells messing anything up like they do. Merge cells mess things up, I'm telling you. Then we're going to go to the format cells again. Let's do this again. It's under the alignment, horizontal. We're going to center across. All right. Now you might be able to just kind of format paint this. I'm going to try to format paint it to this one. But then it made it big. It wasn't supposed to be that size of font, but that's okay. So I'm going to save that. Then let's go ahead and print this whole thing to a PDF file. So we're going to go to the File tab. We're going to go to the printer. We're going to be printing to the PDF file. I'm going to print the entire worksheet, not just the entire workbook, not just that worksheet. And now we have 5 pages, balance sheet, profit and loss, in this one. Looks like it's all good. So I'm going to go ahead and print that. And then it's going to ask us where we want to put it. And I'm just going to tell it where we want to put it. And it's right where I want it to be. It's asking me, that's where we want it. So I'm going to say save. So that looks good. And let's check out what we have. So we put it into this folder, and this is what we have now. I'm going to make these a larger icon this time. So we could then give somebody the individual reports, balance sheet, income statement, and the transaction detail with 3 attachments to an email, for example. Or we can then make another folder. Let's make another folder called Financial Statements. And then we can put those 3 files in it. The transaction detail, the comparative balance sheet, and the income statement. We can put those in there, and then we can zip it, right-clicking it, and compressing it, send to the zipped file, and that allows us to attach that zipped file instead of having the 3 attachments. Then we can also open just this one attachment that has all of our reports in it, and that would look something like this. There's the balance sheet. There is the profit and loss, and there's the transaction detail. Now note by this point, you can add a whole lot of reports, and it just depends how much stuff you want to give per month. So we've talked about multiple different formats of these balance sheets you can give at this point in time. You can think about making graphs and that type of thing that you could put in your reports as well at the month end or quarter end.